stimulus checks, and next Friday's major announcement. I'm going to be discussing the significance of the major announcement coming out next Friday, how this information is used to determine the need for additional stimulus, the distribution and the approval, as well as the amounts of any type of stimulus to be distributed. This is very, very, very important. In fact, the number one factor that is used to determine how much stimulus is needed and how fast that stimulus needs to be distributed. Now, I want to point out some of the details that are out there because, again, over the last few months here, we've heard the president and the administration, as well as lawmakers and all kinds of people coming out talking about this $2,000 tariff-induced stimulus or profit share distribution dividend payment, or rebate, I guess you could call it as well, as some people are referring to it as. But this is something that's totally different. This is economically based stimulus. And again, you've heard me talk about this many times over the last several months as well, which is what could distribute any type of money, as in a stimulus, a dividend, a rebate, a distribution. There's a couple different factors right now, one of which would be the profit share, the dividend that the president has talked about and originally floated back on November 9th of 2025, obviously. But then also, I want to point out a economically induced stimulus or distribution as well. Okay, so these are a couple different factors which could actually predicate the distribution of any kind of money. Now, I also want to point this out. I think this is all very, very obvious. I've said this many times recently, and I want to point this out yet again. As of right now, no, any type of stimulus is not technically approved yet. Okay, I think you all know that, but again, I just always want to throw that out there so there's no miscommunication on this. But next Friday, we're going to be getting January jobs numbers or labor data. Now, you might be thinking, this has nothing to do with stimulus. This is clickbait. This is all BS. It's actually very important. Here's why. When it comes down to the distribution of stimulus, there's like two factors that they look at. Number one, the most important one is the labor market, because at the end of the day, the most important thing that the government wants is labor. They want jobs. They want people working. Why? When people are working and there's a strong economy, they get a whole lot more tax revenues coming in. So when the economy is slowing, contracting, falling into a recession, whatever it happens to be, the government gets significantly less tax revenue because less people are working, therefore less people paying in through payroll taxes, and it means that the government gets a cut to their income. They don't want that, right? They want a very strong workforce and economy because it means more money for them. So my point being is that over the last few months here, we've been seeing significantly weaker jobs and labor market data coming out. Every single month when we get the labor data that comes out, it's actually been weakening significantly. Now, obviously, there was a little bit of a lag there with the government shutdown in October and the first half of November. It was all kind of messed up for a while there. We actually didn't get some of the data coming out. But point being is that we've been getting private data during that time as well, and we continue to see a contraction in hiring and an increase in firings and layoffs. That's not very good, okay? We've also seen the increase of the unemployment rate, meaning more and more people are becoming unemployed and less people in the workforce, which simply means that not looking good for the overall economy. Well, this next number that we're going to be getting on next Friday is going to be January's labor market, labor data, the non-farm payroll, or the jobs report. This is going to be very, very, very important to see because this is January. Remember, what typically happens in January? Well, a lot of the people that are hired for seasonal help during basically like November and December for the holidays, a lot of those people are generally laid off in January, right? Like, hey, seasonal workers are gone, and therefore they're laid off in January. So we typically don't see like a super strong job number coming out for the month of January. We could see a very bad number coming out next Friday for the month of January, showing that not only did seasonal workers get laid off and more people they were brought on for seasonal or holiday help, the last couple months of the year, but we may actually see even more people laid off because of lackluster holiday shopping, and whoops, we didn't quite see the holiday shopping season that many people were forecasting. Therefore, we need to let some of our workforce go. That's all going to be coming in here in January, and we're going to see that here in this next report that comes out again next Friday. So we may see things really hit the fan in this report here and not looking good whatsoever. In fact, there's been many forecasts that have been coming out over the last several weeks here suggesting that this may be a significantly reduced number here, and we may see a really, really bad labor market number here. Now, at the end of the day, how does this come down to stimulus? Remember, when we see a spike in the unemployment rate, this is like the number one factor that lawmakers and that many policymakers look at when it comes down to determining the overall health of the economy and the need for any type of stimulus, and if they really want to juice the economy through stimulus, okay, and the distribution of any kind of free money like this, is when we see a spike in the unemployment rate. That's not good. That gets the attention of people very, very quickly. There's many other factors that we could look at, like, the inflation data. They don't give a rip about the inflation. Have you noticed? We've had high inflation for the last 6 years. 5 years. We've had high inflation, and they've done nothing about it for the most part, right? They continue to say, this is an effort to bring down inflation. No, it's not. If it was an effort to bring down inflation, they would have done something about it years ago. They don't care about inflation all that much. But one thing they really do care about is the labor market, the job market, people working, and the overall workforce in this country. When that spikes and we see a significantly higher number of people filing for unemployment benefits, that's what really gets the attention of lawmakers. That's what really gets the attention of the Federal Reserve, and that's what really gets people to scramble quickly. A significantly higher inflation number? No, that doesn't get people to scramble. That just basically gets people to start talking about things like, we should do something about this, okay? But when you see a spike in the unemployment rate and you see a spike in people being laid off, that's what really gets the attention of everybody. And now, not only do they start talking, but they start taking action significantly faster. Just like the Federal Reserve, they may come out and start to lower interest rates significantly faster to help juice the economy by making borrowing and the cost of borrowing money significantly cheaper. Not only that, just the same thing we see every single time in an economic contraction, in an economic recessionary environment, we typically see the same thing happening, which is, unemployment rate spiking higher, Federal Reserve panicking to lower interest rates, and then lawmakers come forward and they pass multi-trillion dollars worth of stimulus bills. They give it some name, and a lot of times it contains stimulus because they know just as well as we do that when the economy is not doing great, the best way to stimulate it quickly is getting money into the pockets of the people like us. And what do? We go out and we spend it immediately, driving instant demand in stores and online and everywhere like that. And then when we buy all of these goods and services, guess what happens? Now businesses need to hire more people to stock the shelves, to be cashiers, to be customer service people, to whatever, I don't know, all the different things that businesses hire for. They need to hire all these people, and that drives the unemployment rate down. It drives hiring in this country, and more people are getting jobs and working, and it reverses it very, very quickly, right? We know this. That's why I've said this for years. In my opinion, the number one economic factor that we need to watch very closely is the unemployment rate. And not only that, all of the data that comes out with the unemployment numbers that come out the first Friday of every month, and that happens to be next Friday, and it's going to be on the behalf of January. So this is going to be a very, very important number that we see here. And what's really happening? If we see a strong number, well then, the need for stimulus at that point is, not very much needed, according to the lawmakers and according to the policymakers and everybody that makes these decisions. Unfortunately, it's not about the need for the people, it's about the need for the economy, which is something I've also mentioned very clearly many, many, many times over the years, which is, doesn't matter how much we ask, it doesn't matter how much we beg, it doesn't matter how many letters we write or how much we basically, ask them and say, hey, please, can we get some type of relief here? It's not about that, unfortunately. I wish it were. But it's not about that. They don't care about that. They care about the overall economy. When the economy asks, they deliver. When the people ask, they deliver a whole lot of nothing. Nothing. They deliver nothing when the people ask, but when the economy asks, they deliver immediately. Okay? Anyway, this next report that we get out next Friday, very, very important. I'll keep you posted on that as we get more information coming out. But again, it's going to be potentially a pretty nasty number. based on what we're seeing here, and we may see a significant spike in unemployment, well, that may be a really good thing for stimulus, as I mentioned here in this video, and I'll certainly keep you posted on any further details on this as we get more information. Anyway, hope you're doing well. Again, as always, please consider subscribing if you're new here. 100% free. Big subscribe button down below. Please feel free to share the video. Again, big share button down below, right by the subscribe button. Otherwise, check out the other 6,000 videos here on the channel in the video library. Stay tuned. A lot of big things happening right now. And until next time, have a nice day. Take care, and I'll catch you again later in the next video. I'll see you for now.